And of course, my guest is already here, Mr. John Kennedy Monyoncho. This is the SRC Commissioner, and of course the perfect man to have this discussion, even as we reflect on the 6-year tenure in office, and as we highlight the hit and the misses. And of course, in your report, you have highlighted some of the success that you have actually underscored during that tenure, and one of them is the reduction of outrageous allowances. And of course, in just simple and plain term, how would you describe your 6-year tenure in office?
Well, Evan, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me here on behalf of the Commission, just to come and elucidate the report that we presented last week. Well, for me, the last 6 years have been, can I call it an epitome of my public service? I have been in public service since 1986. You can count how many years that is. And therefore, coming to work into as a commission, for me, it was a penultimate. And having seen our contribution that is totally affecting the nation's trajectory from an economics perspective has given me great pleasure. Apart from that, we have a team, a marvelous team that is full of integrity, a team that was focused, a team that knew what we wanted to do in these last 6 years. And therefore, we came on board focused and ready to serve the public service. And therefore, for me, I live with a lot of satisfaction, a lot of great happiness, and with a great legacy, which we believe the incoming commission, the incoming team will also continue with that legacy.
Okay.
Yes.
And even, and we'll talk about now, right now we are talking about the legacy, and of course we'll talk about some of the recommendations.
Correct.
And that probably as you exit office, you'll be, it's like you just, you brief them about, the task ahead, what lies, and some of the challenges that they will face.
Yes.
But beside that, there is, and this concerns you directly.
Correct.
And this has been a thorn in the flesh of, it's right to say, the SRC.
Yes.
I'm talking about now the public, wage bill.
Yes.
And this is a discussion that presently there was forum to try and see how we can actually reduce it to 35 because the figure as it stands in terms of percentage, it's fair to say it's ballooning, and each passing day this is headache.
Correct.
Well, this is your area of specialization, or it is where you actually specialize.
Yes.
So talk to us about why do we see the upward trajectory, even as we have this discussion of reducing it.
Okay.
But instead, we see it every passing, financial year, the figure keeps on rising.
Okay.
So what could be the reason behind this?
Thank you, Evans. The pay bill is a function of two things. It's a function of how much is paid, and is a function of the number of people being paid.
All right.
All right? So if either of those increases, you will expect the wage bill to increase. So let's assume that we have an increase in teachers, for example. I mean, you'll agree with me, we don't have enough teachers.
Yeah.
You'll agree with me, we don't have enough doctors. You'll agree with me that there's a continuous review in terms of security personnel. Those three categories, they are a bit open in terms of the recruitment, which means for us to be able to ensure that our country is at a place, for example, the WHO ratios for doctor ratio, police ratio to citizen, and so forth, are maintained. We're way below. So what that means is that even if we say we're going to keep how much we pay, currently, if we increase the number of people, the wage bill will go up. Assuming we don't increase the number of people we don't increase the pay, okay? What would happen? Now, the commission doesn't have, the natural justice doesn't allow for us to reduce pay.
All right.
At best is to keep it as is. But that also be unfair, because based on inflation, you find that money can become weaker and weaker if it's not adjusted. So if we increase how much we pay without increasing the employees, wage bill will go up. If we keep it constant, increase the number of employees, wage bill will go up. So which is the lesser evil? That's the question you want us to answer. Which is the lesser evil? And I've answered that pay will continue increasing so long as we're employing. So unless we say no recruitment, full stop. So when our children increase by the 2.1%, birth rate in Kenya is about 2.4%. Next year of 2.4%, or 100,000 kids being born. All right? So which hospital do they go to when they're not doctors?
All right.
Are you saying?
Okay.
So in absolute terms, the figures will continue increasing in absolute terms. But from a statistics background, there's something called a decreasing increase. All right? Decreasing increase. It's decreasing. It's going up, but at a decreasing rate.
All right.
And that's what we have observed since we came in as a commission. So what has happened is that therefore the payments that are being made in terms of our take-home pay has been reducing because we have restrained growth in wage increase over that period based on how the economy is performing.
All right.
So for sure, the absolute figures will continue increasing so long as population is increasing.
All right.
And what would rather happen then? The ratio now of the wage bill to ordinary revenue collected will now depend on how much are we collecting. Okay. So if the economy does not grow, does not improve, the ratio will go up. Okay. And I can give you a good example. During the COVID, around 2018, 19, the ratio had gone down to around 48, 49%. Right. But as soon as COVID struck, because the economy was generally at zero, the ratio increased because we were paying even without generating any money in the economy. Okay. So the ratio moved up to around 51.5%.
Okay.
But since then, it has now gone down as we've continued to look at the different areas of management.
All right.
Yes.
And, well, according to the way you put it,
yes,
it's like there's a bridge too far. And to achieve it, it's fair to say it might require some miracles. But now, the question is, the 35% which the Commission, of course, proposes, and this is something that was even supported by the President.
Yes.
Well, given these parameters in place, then how do we hit that 35%?
Well, there are a number of areas to look at. And basically, that's why the Commission is there. We were established, first of all, with twofold mandate. One is to ensure that we set and review remuneration and benefits for state officers. All right, so it's our business to continue setting, and therefore we will manage how we set and how regularly we review. So it means we have the total mandate on whether to increase or to allow it to be fixed. The second mandate is to advise the other public service whether they can continue paying what they are paying based on the principles, the four principles that we have. Right. The first one being affordability and fiscal sustainability. Right? If you are not able to afford, we cannot allow you to pay because it will not be sustainable. There is the principle of being able to attract and retain, which is quite challenging because in terms of the payments, remuneration and benefits we have for public servants, they're not earning too much. Actually, their income has not grown as expected over the last 10 years. But then we have to pay what we can afford. Affordability is what's important, and sustainability. And then, of course, we ought to be able to reward productivity and performance. Now, if I'm going to reward productivity and performance, what this means is that I need to be able to recognize productivity, not just what I'm paying, and not just increasing people for the sake of increasing people, but one of these very strategic areas is to look at productivity. What is our efficiency levels as the public service? Can we produce more with the same amount that we are spending, or can we produce more with less? Because if we do that, it means our revenues will increase, If revenues increase, it means our ratios will go down.
All right.
All right. So one of the major ways is really to look at productivity. Of course, the second area we are targeting and looking at is asking ourselves, we make a lot of other payments which are not necessarily justified. And some of these are through the allowances we've talked about. We've been able to bring down or to streamline allowances being paid in the public service. No allowance as we speak can be paid before the commission gets to know.
Okay.
And therefore, that's another area which is actually reducing the ratio that we're talking about. We're looking at use of technology, because we're talking about how can we use technology, not necessarily keep on having manual systems. How can we move to use systems that can be able to monitor, especially what we call our payroll systems. Because if you have a manual payroll system, there are a lot of leakages. So we need to be able to ensure that those leakages are sealed. And once they are sealed, what that means is that what is collected can actually go a much longer way than what we are looking at right now. And probably one more item is to look at rationalization on the recruitment process. We don't have to recruit everybody at the same time, or the people we need at the same time.
Okay.
Now, the commission doesn't have mandate over how many are recruited. The mandate we have is how much is paid to each position that is recruited.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's the problem there.
Yes.
Because the commission does not have the mandate to, let us say that don't recruit this person X or a number of X employees.
Correct.
And one of their role is to inquire into and of course advise on salaries and remuneration to be paid out of public fund.
Correct.
That's good. Well, the fact that you don't have the power to control this, then in your fight, especially now in this reducing the public wage bill, don't you think probably this could be some of the drawbacks that could derail the same effort?
I agree with you. That could be now the miss that you're talking about. But it's only a miss in as far as we did not collaborate probably with the institutions that do recruitment, the employing institutions, and tell them, even as you recruit, please make sure you look at the affordability and fiscal sustainability of the wage bill. But it's not our role, but it is important that we work with employing institutions to inform them that whereas we are more than ready to give you how much to pay for these roles, it is important that you are also very cognizant of the fact that the more you recruit, the more our kitty for wage bill actually reduces or increases in terms of expenditure. I agree with you that that's not a role that is in our hands. If it was in our hands, we would have taken it on board. I mean, for example, let me give you an example. Productivity measurement is not in the hands of SRC. That is being done by the National Competitiveness and Productivity Center. Wholly, that is theirs to pursue productivity, to measure productivity, to develop the indices. It is their role. But you see, the commission is mandated to recognize productivity. Now, how can we recognize productivity if it has not been measured?
Okay.
And we can't measure because it's not our job to measure. Who is supposed to measure? The other institution. So what is left for us to do is to actually collaborate. And we say NPCC or National Productivity and Competitiveness Center, we need to work together. We need to recognize productivity in public service, but for us to recognize it, you must play your role so that we can also play our role of recognizing. Because public service want to be rewarded. They want to be paid bonuses. They want to be paid performance bonus. But how do you pay if I can't measure? And yet we are saying productivity is what is going to help us to generate or make a bigger cake. That bigger cake that can be able to allow us to reach the target of 35%. If we don't generate more, Evans, we'll never reach 35%.
Okay.
And therefore, collaboration with other institutions is going to be critical, especially now you've raised the issue, employing institutions. Public Service Commission must be here, TSC must be there, National Police Service Commission must be there. They must be able to agree, yes, even as we recruit, let's make sure that it's only strategic recruitment.
All right.
Yes.
And now, probably some might even ask this question.
Yeah.
Well, in some cases, because your role is to review where adjustment need to be done, that is something that you can recommend, right? And well, we have some public servant workers, of course, who some say that they have been crying for quite a long time about their salary review, and I don't know if it's something that you're familiar, like even the police service.
The police service.
Yes, and this is something that has been over time, and we have seen a cry also from public about the increased allowances from let's say state officials. Recently we had the commission, of course, reviewed the allowances of state officials. Then there was this discussion about now that we are in a bad state, then later on the commission issued a presser, and that was at least reversed. But
I will be able to correct that, because we did not review remuneration and benefits this year. No.
Okay.
That was done last year.
But now the question that many will ask, is SRC, for lack of better word, a toothless dog?
Toothless dog? Yeah. Oh, what a question is that?
Because
why would you say that? Because if for the reason we were established, we've actually ensured that the wage bill has actually moved towards target or towards trajectory, not necessarily achieved, but it's moving towards target as a major key performance indicator from 51 to 46. That already is an indication that in the next 2 years, in fact, we are waiting for the numbers to be firmed up from National Treasury, because they take about 2 years to firm the numbers up, to find out what is the ratio in 2023 to in 2023-2024. Because our estimate, it should be around 39% from the 46. Now, that alone is a measure that we are moving in the trajectory we need to be. How does that happen? If we were toothless, as you say, then people would not be hearing and would not be adhering to the advice that we give. Let me give you a quick example. Over the period, we have requests amounting, requests of either allowances, salary review, collective bargaining agreements, requests totaling to about 150 billion. This is not salary. This is now other allowances. Okay, there's a bit of salary review and other allowances. Over 150 billion requests have come to the commission. Out of the 150 billion, 105 has been rejected. So it just allows you to tell that there is only 45 billion that has passed. So if you say we are toothless, surely
it's a question.
And I mean, I'm answering, and I'm saying that it's not possible to go that direction, because if we are toothless, then it means we would not have managed to ensure that unnecessary money to the tune of 105 billion has actually been spent. That would have happened. Apart from that, we have ensured that collective bargaining agreements have a structure. Before we came on board, there was no structure. The commission institutions would be negotiating every 1 year or 2 years in a collective bargaining process. That was very expensive for government. We, as a commission, say that we must have one negotiation every 4 years. Allow the economy to breathe, generate some income or revenue, which you can be able to pay. Now that is being followed. Nobody is negotiating within 1 or 2 years. That is not about being toothless.
What about now the plight of men in uniform?
I wanted to hear that question properly, because the issue is, what is the plight? If you look at the Emeritus Maraga's report, what he presented, I thought that has been implemented and is in the public domain. So when was this cry? Maybe that's what I need to know, because as far as we know, the men in uniform should not be crying. They should not be crying, because we've listened, we've seen what it is, we've looked at the Maraga report, so we even did our own job evaluation. That was done a long time ago. At least a month, if not 2 ago. Yes.
All right.
In any case, even last year, in July, their pay was reviewed. It wasn't much money because we didn't have much money then, but the pay was reviewed. But you see now, the amount that everybody's talking about could be the issue, because if I increase your pay by 1,000 bob, you say, Monyoncho, now what's 1,000 shillings? Surely, so you can continue crying with 1,000 shillings, but that's what we can afford. Remember, our mandate cannot allow us to pay what you can't afford.
Okay.
And the commission cannot approve payment of any review if we don't have the money.
All right.
Okay.
And now that we are talking about this, about now the balancing act.
Yes.
Well, I think there is a time you are at loggerheads about now balancing between, the needs of the public servants and, of course, with how now to implement this in regard to the budget, how the economy is performing, and, of course, even reducing this 35% wage bill.
Yes.
Well, now, how do you find the balance between a public servant or public officials who maintain that don't touch our allowances? And of course, the commission that has a mandate to review and advise accordingly so that the economy can run, and of course, balance as far as balancing this 35% wage bill is concerned. So how do you balance between this and dealing, of course, with this conflict of interest from state officials?
Evans, the beauty of the commission is that we are not aligned to anybody. We have a security of tenure to allow us to do our job. So the issue of balancing act doesn't come in, because if we must make a decision, we will make the decision.
Okay.
It's not about balancing. It's about the right thing to do. What was the right thing that must be done to ensure that we move in the direction we want to go? When we said that these allowances must be reviewed, we reviewed them. When we said that DSA must be standardized, we standardized. There was no balancing act. We're telling you we can't be wasting money traveling to go and have meetings, spending much more money. So what we need to do is let us standardize the DSA so that it doesn't matter where you go, so it can reduce the impact on the economy. So all we're saying, Evans, is that it is not about balancing. It's about looking at the right thing that we need to do. If there are certain allowances that you must have, for example, house allowance and probably commuter allowance, which are part and parcel of the pay of the officer, those ones we're not going to touch. But if there are allowances that you're telling me that you need to be paid for having a meeting in your office to review your HR practices and policies, I'll tell you, but that's part of your job. I will not allow you to be paid that allowance. And we've made that very clear. There are allowances that are payable, there are others that are not payable. And what we've made sure is that no one decides which allowance they can pay themselves. Those allowances must be approved by the commission.
All right.
They must be approved by the commission. So for us, we're not about balance. It's about what is the right thing to do now. Look at the economy, look at what our performance, and then from there, we make the decision. We make the right call.
All right.
Yes.
And, some of the decisions that you make as a commission, sometimes to many it's not pleasing, and of course you find yourself even fighting the legal battle, of which we'll not talk about that, because that is something that is but as a commission,
it's more of interpreting the mandate of the commission that is a problem, more than just being taken to court. Yes, but just finish your question.
Well, now when you find yourself in this some sort of dilemma, at one point you're doing your work as a commission, and the other one you are facing the legal battle. So in terms of now, dealing with all this, how do you navigate through these very tricky and uncharted waters?
One of the major challenge, of course, we had as a commission for the last 6 years is that we had court cases amounting to 118 cases against the decisions that we have made. These cases were against a backdrop of zero or minimum budget line. No budget, because if somebody takes you to court, you are enjoying in that case, you must go there. And should the case go against you, you must appeal. To appeal, you need to pay lawyers. For you to pay them, you need a budget line. We had no budget line for those 6 years when we got very. In fact, it was reduced from 1 or 2 million to 0 in the last year. So that's one of the challenges that we had, which was basically on litigation. All right, but litigation, as I mentioned, was generally most of the times about the decision we made. And therefore, because of lack of agreeing on the interpretation of what our mandate says, we are taken to court.
All right.
We are told, no, we are a state corporation, we are not under SRC.
Okay.
How is that possible? Oh, we are a commission, we are not under SRC. So who is under SRC then? I mean, you are telling me that state corporations are not public entities. Are you telling me commissions are not public entities? I mean, you're not in the private sector. Every shilling you get as a commission or as a state corporation is money from the state.
Okay.
And therefore, any money spent there must be under the approval of the commission. Now, if you're going to seek interpretation whether we are part of SRC or we are not, you see that's a challenge of the mandate.
Okay.
It has nothing to do anything else. So when we make a decision, those decisions could be challenged.
Okay.
And therefore, most of those cases are basically just to challenge the decisions we've made. And what we say, we play with the game. We move with it. If you're taking us to court, we will just come.
Okay.
But let me tell you, the good news is that majority of those cases are on our side.
Okay.
Just one or two that we didn't go through, but majority, they find that what we are doing is our role, and we are allowed to continue with the work that we do.
Okay, and this is pretty quick.
Yes.
30 seconds.
All right.
The next, this is now the advice to the incoming commissioners, even as you prepare to exit office.
Yes.
Now that your pretty message, a very simple message for them, even as we wind up this discussion.
Yes. For me, is to say work as a team, remain focused, be clear about any conflicts, because if you come to the commission with conflict of interest, you will not move. You're going to get stuck.
Okay.
Work as a team, move as a team. You will be able to do great exploits.
All right.
Yes.
Well, Mr. John Kennedy Monyoncho, that one. Thank you so much for making time.
You're welcome.
It has been quite a very interesting discussion about, the state of the Salary and Remuneration Commission, even as they prepare to exit office after the end of their 6-year tenure in office. And of course, it's just a discussion to highlight and reflect on the journey, the hit and the misses, and even the way forward, even as we wind up and look forward for the next commission that will be taking over the mantle of reviewing the salaries of state officials and, of course, advising accordingly as the Constitution stipulates. Now, we take a very short break. When we come back, we'll be diving into matters sports.